Incredible rescue. Police officer and loyal shepherd discover hidden truth behind little girl found in the woods. Jake Thompson always knew being a cop in Maplewood would be tough. But today's overcast sky felt heavier, as if it held secrets in its clouds. With Max, his trusty German shepherd, by his side, Jake drove slowly through the town's quiet streets, reflecting on the weight of his world. Single father to 8-year-old Lily, caretaker to his aging mother, and the never-ending grind of a police officer, each role pulled at him like a tightrope stretched perilously between mountains. The muffled laughter of neighbors drifted through open windows, contrasting sharply with the burdens resting on his shoulders. Yet, every night he tucked Lily into bed, her dreams of becoming a veterinarian reminded him of what truly mattered. Her innocence was a light in his otherwise tumultuous heart. Then, it happened. A commotion erupted from the nearby woods. With a jolt, Max's ears perked up, instinctively guiding Jake off the beaten path. His heart raced, a knot tightening in his chest as they ventured deeper into the thickets. Sunlight broke through the branches, revealing a sight that would change everything: a tiny girl, no more than 7, shivering alone amongst the towering pines. Emily! Jake gasped, recognizing her instantly as the missing child from an affluent family. Her wide, frightened eyes met his, sparking an immediate connection that sent trepidation flooding through him. "You're safe now," he assured, kneeling beside her. The sense of relief was bittersweet. Something about her presence felt unsettling, like the calm before a storm. As he led her out of the woods, whispers rippled through the tight-knit community. Dark secrets seemed to cling to Emily's glossy home like fog on a winter morning. Beneath its shiny exterior lay a story of neglect that cut deep, revealing cracks in the facade of wealth. Families in Maplewood, already wrestling with their own struggles, felt that familiar gnaw of envy and sorrow, reflecting their unfulfilled dreams upon this little girl. "Better keep your head up, Jake," his fellow officers had joked, but this time, fighting legal battles was only part of it. This was about healing the heart of their town, quelling the resentment bubbling beneath the surface. He committed himself to being more than just a cop. He wanted to be a beacon of hope, a bridge over troubled waters. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jake dove deeper into Emily's circumstances, each revelation revealing the turmoil hidden beneath layers of luxury. She, too, was lost in a world that seemed so full yet so empty. As days turned into nights, Jake felt the weight of their truths, both his and hers. The tighter the town knitted together, the more he saw their divisions. Love was supposed to unite, yet could it also expose the fractures between privilege and neglect? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over Maplewood, Jake felt the tension build within him. Emily's fears began to unravel, compelling him to consider the different kinds of family they all belonged to. He could sense the moral crossroads ahead. What would it take to redefine connections and bridge these divides? In that moment, an undeniable truth settled over him: love wasn't something you simply found, it was something you built. The intersection of hope and hardship lay waiting, begging for his next move, and Jake was ready. The morning after Emily was found, the town buzzed with both excitement and trepidation. Jake was up early, the sky painted in soft hues of pink and orange as dawn broke over Maplewood. An air of determination hung thick in the crisp morning air, mixed with the remnants of yesterday's worry. He needed to follow up on Emily's situation, but before diving deeper, there was one thing he needed to do first. Jake brewed a pot of fresh coffee while keeping one ear tuned to Lily's room. She was still asleep, her small figure tucked under a quilt adorned with images of colorful animals. It struck him how different her life was from Emily's, a world where love didn't seem to be a question but a constant. Glancing at the clock, he realized he couldn't put this off any longer. "Max, we're going to visit Emily's family today," he said, and the dog perked up, instinctively knowing they had work to do. Jake could feel the weight of the responsibility on his shoulders, but it only fueled his resolve. Arriving at the opulent mansion felt surreal. The grandeur was overwhelming, a stark contrast to the simplicity of his own life. Jake adjusted his hat and squared his shoulders. He wouldn't be intimidated by the lavish display. As he approached the front door, it swung open, revealing a distraught woman, Emily's mother, Amanda. "Thank you for bringing my daughter home," she stammered, tears clinging to her eyelashes. Yet behind her grateful gaze lurked something dark of fear, perhaps guilt. Jake felt his heart pull in two directions, immense empathy and a gnawing suspicion. "Can I speak to you for a moment?" He gestured gently, inviting her out onto the manicured patio. They could talk away from prying ears, away from those pristine walls that felt more like a prison than a sanctuary. As they settled into the outdoor furniture, Amanda's hand shook slightly. I thought I'd lost her forever," she whispered, her voice trembling. Jake nodded slowly, letting the silence echo between them. This woman was a mother, lost in her own grief. "What do you think happened, Amanda?" Jake asked gently, leaning in. He needed sincerity from her. The truth could be buried beneath that shiny surface. I don't know," she said, tears spilling over. "She just went missing. I didn't notice at first. I was so caught up in everything." Her eyes darted, unable to meet his. The pressure of it all. Jake's heart sank. He could sense the chaos behind her polished words, the fear underlying her affluent lifestyle. "This isn't easy for you," he said softly. "But I want to help. She deserves better than this." But somewhere in his gut, he knew the stakes were higher than ever. Could Emily thrive in a place so wrapped up in appearances? The vision of the fractured family kept haunting him. He couldn't shake the feeling that the answers he sought lay deeper in the darkness of this picture-perfect home. As Jake stood to leave, Amanda's hand grasped his. "Please, don't let them take her away again. I promise I'll do better." Her voice brimmed with desperation. "I'll do my best to make sure she is safe," he replied, pulling gently away. "But safety isn't just about the home she sleeps in, it's about the love that fills it." The words felt heavy, echoing the truth he had come to understand. Love was paramount, but it had to be real. Driving back home, Jake felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. Emily was still a young girl trapped between two worlds, one of luxury and another void of real care. How would he bring those two worlds together? He couldn't shake the worry, the guilt that he would drop the ball. As he stepped through his front door, he heard Lily giggle with excitement inside. She was watching cartoons, a world of laughter and innocence. It pulled at his heartstrings, a reminder of how fleeting that childhood bliss could be. The juxtaposition of their lives was stark. What would happen when Emily stepped into Lily's world? Would love be enough to save her? He knew his journey was only beginning. The community was on edge, waiting and watching, but what awaited them all was yet to be revealed. And as his phone buzzed sharply in his pocket, Jake's heart raced. A new lead, a whisper of truth he had to investigate. The next step in this tangled tale awaited him, forcing him forward into the unknown. What would he uncover next? Jake glanced at his phone, a mix of excitement and dread swirling in his stomach. The message was from Ben, his friend at the local police station. "Got a tip about Emily, meet me at the diner." He took a deep breath and shook off the worry that clung to him like mist. Instead of lingering on the uncertainties of Emily's return home, he focused on getting answers. The diner was a hub of gossip in Maplewood, and if anyone had information about the missing girl and her circumstances, it would be here. As he drove through the familiar streets, the sun overhead was a brilliant blue, almost too cheerful compared to the turmoil in his mind. People waved, children played, and all seemed normal, but everything had shifted since Emily's disappearance, a shadow lurking beneath the surface. When Jake pushed open the glass door of the diner, the familiar jingle greeted him. The smell of frying bacon and brewing coffee wrapped around him like a warm hug. He spotted Ben seated in a corner booth, his face tense. "Hey," Jake said, sliding in opposite him. "What V you got?" Ben leaned in closer, scanning the room with wary eyes. "You know the guy who lives down by the old mill? Roger Thompson?" A couple of people reported strange noises coming from his place around the time Emily went missing. Jake's heart raced. He'd heard of Thompson, known for his solitude, and rumors swirled about him. What kind of noises? Crying. Shouting. It's not good, Jake. People are scared, but nobody wants to confront him. It's like the whole town is holding its breath. Jake felt a chill. This was more than he anticipated. And no one has seen Emily with him? Ben shook his head. "But if there's even a chance, we need to go check it out," Jake interjected, urgency bubbling inside him. "Are you sure about that?" Ben asked, eyebrows raised. He's unpredictable. It could be dangerous. I have to. I'm not leaving it to chance anymore. Jake stood up, determination stiffening his spine. Max, who had been resting beneath the table, lifted his head as if sensing the tension. He looked up at Jake, ready to spring into action. They had a cause, a purpose that far outweighed any fear. Driving toward the mill, the air thickened with uncertainty. Shadows stretched long across the road, framed by overhanging trees, creating an almost ominous atmosphere. When they arrived, the mill loomed ahead, a decrepit structure that seemed to whisper secrets in the wind. "Stay close," Jake instructed Ben as they clambered out of the truck. The sound of crunching gravel echoed underfoot, breaking the eerie silence. The wind rustled through the trees, making the hairs on Jake's neck stand on end. Every step felt heavy, each breath a reminder of the gravity of their search. They approached the entrance, a door hanging askew, and Jake's heart pounded hard against his ribs. "Ready?" he whispered, knowing that he might not be alone in that darkened mill. Ben nodded, gripping his flashlight tightly. The interior was dim, the wood floors creaking as they moved slowly inside. Shadows danced in the flickering light, masking corners and hiding unknown dangers. Suddenly, a sound made them freeze, a soft whimper. Jake's stomach dropped as he exchanged glances with Ben, realization dawning. "That came from over there," Jake whispered, pointing toward a set of rickety stairs leading to the upper level. They crept toward the sound, hearts racing. What they would find next could change everything. And with every step they took, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were getting closer to unveiling the truth, no matter how dark it might be. Would they find Emily, or would they uncover something far more sinister? The stairs creaked under their weight, seemingly protesting their ascent. Jake's heart raced in rhythm with his footsteps. He glanced back at Ben, whose face was a mask of concentrated fear and determination. Max stayed close, instinctively sensing the tension in the air. Another whimper echoed, this time more pronounced. Jake quickened his pace, pulling himself upward. The beam from Ben's flashlight swept over the walls, exposing cobwebs and remnants of old machinery. It felt like stepping into a time capsule frozen in dust, and yet alive with the pulsing fear of the moment. "Stay alert," Jake whispered. The hushed tone added weight to their caution. Every shadow could hold mystery, every creak could signal danger. They reached the top of the stairs and found a narrow hallway. The whimpering continued, a haunting sound that twisted in Jake's gut. Ben hesitated, then pointed down the hall. "It's coming from that room." His voice shook slightly, a reflection of the apprehension building within them both. The door appeared slightly ajar, and Jake pushed it open cautiously. The hinges protested with a sharp whine. Inside, the room was dimly lit by a dirty, cracked window. For a moment, everything felt still, as if the world had paused to listen. Then they saw her. Emily sat huddled in the corner, her knees drawn to her chest. Disheveled hair framed her tear-streaked face. Relief and horror washed over Jake simultaneously. There she was, alive but clearly shaken. Emily. Jake rushed forward, but the sight of her odd presence made him stop. There was something else in the room, a figure looming in the shadows. A tall, scruffy man stepped into the weak light, blocking their path. "Who are you?" Roger Thompson hissed, his eyes wild. "Get away from here." Jake's heart sank. This was the very man the town whispers spoke of, isolated, strange. But today, his appearance felt menacing. "I'm not here to hurt her," Jake said, voice firm yet gentle. "We just want her safe." Thompson shifted, and for an instant, Jake thought he might step aside. Instead, the man moved closer to Emily, who shrank back against the wall, fear etched on her face. "Leave," Thompson growled. "She's mine. She came to me for help." Help? What kind of help could he offer? Jake's instincts screamed at him to spring into action. "What did you do to her?" he demanded, inching forward, trying to keep the man distracted. The air crackled with tension. Emily looked up, her eyes wide, filled with despair yet inexplicably hopeful. I got lost," she whispered. "I didn't know where I was." Hearing her voice broke Jake's heart, but he couldn't let Thompson's grip tighten further around her. "You're going to be okay, Emily. Just hang on," he said, trying to convey strength through a shaky calm. Ben took a small step forward, flashlight aimed at Thompson, illuminating the chaos around them. "You can't keep her," he shouted suddenly, anger fueling his voice. "You have to let her go." The accusation hung in the air like a weight, drawing all eyes to Thompson. In that moment, Jake noticed the subtle crack in the man's fierce facade. A flicker of uncertainty crossed his features, and that small crack was all Jake needed. "Emily," he said firmly. "Come with us." As Jake extended his hand toward her, he felt the urgency course through him. This was a rescue. But would it turn into a confrontation? Would they leave with her? Or was something darker waiting to erupt? Thompson tensed, the threat palpable. "Don't you dare." Jake's world narrowed to that moment. Emily's safety was all that mattered. The air around him shimmered with potential danger. Would he be able to pull her to safety before Thompson acted? The space felt too small, too charged, and he knew they were at a tipping point. "Jake, don't," Ben urged quietly, grounding him. "We have to do this smart." Jake's resolve hardened as he realized something crucial. The truth awaited, and he had to summon every ounce of courage to uncover it. Would they leave together, or would this rescue unravel into chaos? Jake felt the tension coil tighter as he locked eyes with Emily. Her wide gaze flickered between Jake and Thompson. "It's okay, Emily," he said softly, though his heart raced. "We're here to take you home." But Thompson's presence loomed larger. He stepped in front of her, menacing yet defensive. "You don't know anything about her. She was lost, yes, but I helped her." His voice cracked, a mixture of desperation and rage as he clung to his conviction. "Help? Or did you trap her here?" Ben shot back, his voice strong. Fear surged inside Jake, but Ben's strength fueled him. They needed a plan, but the way Thompson stood, blocking Emily, made action feel inevitable. "Emily, just come here," Jake urged. "I promise everything will be all right." The shadows danced on Thompson's face, revealing more than just a scruffy exterior. They captured a dangerous mix of fear and madness. "You wouldn't understand," he shouted. "She chose me. I gave her a way out." "A way out?" Jake countered, stepping closer, trying to draw Thompson's attention. "You're scaring her. Why wouldn't she come with us if you truly cared?" Emily's breathing was rapid, each inhale shaky with uncertainty. I don't want to stay," she murmured. The echo of her words clung to the air, amplifying the dissonance in Thompson's grip on her. "Stop lying." Thompson barked back, his posture stiffening. "She came here for safety." But Jake could see it, Emily wasn't safe. He glanced back at Ben, who nodded ever so slightly, as if to say they had to act before Thompson lost control. With sudden resolve, Jake took a deep breath. "Emily, I believe you," he said, locking onto her frightened gaze. "But you need to trust us. We can help you leave this place. Now." Tension crackled. Thompson shifted, his posture softening momentarily. "You don't know the darkness," he warned, each word sharper, as if he held some knowledge they didn't. Jake pushed forward again, sensing the moment shift. "But you can't keep her here, not like this. Don't you see? She needs real help." A flicker of uncertainty crossed Thompson's eyes, a reflection of something deep within, a vulnerability he couldn't bear to show. He hesitated, and that was all Jake needed. Emily lifted her hands, trembling. "I want to go home," she whispered, just loud enough that it pierced through the chaos. The room turned silent, every heartbeat echoing in the stale air. Thompson's defenses finally started to crack. It was a chance, the sort they couldn't ignore. "Please," Emily said again, forming weak resolve. "I don't belong here." Thompson's face twisted in conflict. "You don't understand. I'm protecting you." Jake took advantage. "Protecting her? Look around. This isn't safety, it's fear." At that, the shift became clearer, the tension almost tangible. Thompson swayed, visibly shaken by Emily's words, by Jake's resolve. In one quick motion, Jake reached out his hand again, this time with more confidence. He could feel the weight of the moment like a crossroad, poised between danger and hope. "Emily, take my hand. We can figure this out together, but you have to trust me." Emily hesitated, searching Thompson's eyes, then turned to Jake. A flicker of decision skimmed across her features, still afraid, yet adventuring into the unknown. "I don't want to be alone anymore," she barely breathed. And in that moment, Thompson took a small step back, the pressure in the air shifting ever so slightly. But Jake knew they weren't there yet. It wasn't just about taking Emily, it was about ensuring their escape was safe. "Let her go, Thompson," Ben interjected, his voice steady, standing firm beside Jake. "This isn't real protection, it's a prison." Thompson swallowed hard, his expression shifting. With his next words, the room was silent, heavy with an ominous weight. "You really don't know what darkness lies beyond this door." Jake's heart raced as a sinister chill coursed down his spine. What did Thompson know that he wouldn't share? What awaited them out there? Could they find freedom for Emily, or were they on the precipice of something even more terrifying? "Run!" Ben suddenly urged, glancing at the door. In an instant, urgency surged. They needed their plan solidified before Thompson saw it as his moment to regain control. But if they ran, could they escape the truth that waited just outside? As they hesitated, the shadows lurked, threatening to swallow them whole. What lay beyond that door could change everything. Would they step forward into the light, or allow the darkness to claim them? Emily's eyes darted between Jake and Thompson, her heart pounding like a drum. Every moment stretched on, drawing them tight as a bowstring. "What are you waiting for?" Ben whispered, urgency vibrating in his tone. "Take his hand, Emily." As the words hung in the air, the tension broke like a glass shattering on a hard floor. Emily looked once more to Thompson, desperation in her eyes. "I need to go. Please just let me go." The words came out like a plea, raw and fragile, shaking with the weight of what she had endured. Thompson's breath caught in his throat. For a fleeting second, Jake saw it, the man behind the facade of rage and desperation. His hands trembled, uncertainty flickering across his face. In that brief moment, Jake sensed that beneath the surface, Thompson feared losing Emily just as much as she feared staying. "Emily, you don't understand." Thompson dropped his tough guy act, his voice cracking. "I'm keeping you safe from what's out there. You think you want freedom, but it's chaos. I saved you from that chaos." Jake stepped even closer, hoping to cut through the madness. "You aren't saving her, Thompson. You're suffocating her. You have to see that she deserves a chance to choose her own path." The room was thick with competing emotions, and for every word they exchanged, the fear wrapped tighter around Emily. She took a shallow breath, trying to steady herself. "But I still feel lost. Then let us help you," Jake replied, his voice steady, reaching for her resolutely. "You don't have to feel that way anymore. I can show you a life away from this." Emily's eyes lingered on his hand, then slid back to Thompson, caught between the two men who represented her past and her future. "Thompson, please," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You're hurting me." With a trembling hand, she reached for Jake, and the instant their fingers touched, a spark ignited. The warmth of his grip pushed back the shadows trembling inside her chest. It was all the reassurance she needed, the promise of safety she had so desperately sought. "Now!" Ben shouted, urgency pushing them into motion. But it was like pushing against a wall as the moment spiraled into chaos. Thompson lunged forward, a rawness in his eyes that told of his inner battle. "No! You don't have to do this, Emily. Let her go." Jake shouted back, his tone fierce. The sound echoed like a command rather than a plea, vibrations reverberating through the very walls around them. Then, before Thompson could react, Ben darted forward, blocking Thompson's path with an unexpected ferocity. "You need to step aside. You have no right to keep her like this." Stumbling back, Thompson seemed disoriented, frustration quickly blending with fear. "You think you can just take her?" His voice trembled, the bravado evaporating. "You don't know what it takes to survive. Surviving isn't living." Jake shot back. He pulled Emily closer and felt her fingers grip his tighter, which pushed away the doubt clouding his mind. In that very moment, Emily wavered between two worlds, searching for her place in this turmoil. "I want to believe you," she whispered to Jake, her voice teetering on the edge of hope. "But where do we go from here?" Jake's heart leapt at her question. "We create a world together, Em. Just take one step with me." Suddenly, Thompson roared, as if the very depths of despair boiled over inside him. "You think it's that easy? You'll regret this." As he surged forward, Jake felt panic well up, instinct taking charge. The door loomed behind them, the exit that would lead to uncertain freedom or even greater dangers. "Now!" Ben yelled again, sensing the urgency. "We run." Fueled by adrenaline and a sense of purpose, Jake felt the surge of determination wash over him. He didn't just want to save Emily, he wanted to save them both from a fate that felt all too real. They turned to sprint toward the door, heartbeats racing. Jake held tightly to Emily's hand, and together they surged forward into the unknown. Behind them, chaos erupted. Thompson's howl echoed like a beast betrayed, but time was slipping away, and so was their chance for freedom. As they approached the door, Jake couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty pressing down on him. What awaited them outside? Was it a sanctuary or another trap waiting to spring? With everything on the line, they lunged through the door into the darkness. The unsettling silence that followed planted a seed of dread deep within Jake's chest. What would they find in the shadows of the outside world? Emily stumbled into the unknown, her pulse quickening with every step they took. The air outside was cool and thick with the scent of damp earth, a stark contrast to the confined chaos they had escaped. For a moment, everything felt surreal, like waking from a nightmare, but the adrenaline coursing through her veins kept her grounded. Jake squeezed her hand tighter, a silent promise that he wouldn't let go. She looked up at him, searching for reassurance in his eyes. The uncertainty flickered there too, but so did determination. "What now?" she breathed, her voice almost lost in the stillness. She could feel the weight of all her choices pressing in on her. This was the first step toward a different life, but it was also fraught with danger. "We keep moving," he replied, his voice low but steady. "Just stay close to me." They ran through the dim light, the tentative steps of freedom echoing against concrete. Emily's heart raced, not just from their fleeing but from the mix of fear and exhilaration that urged her forward. Every shadow was a reminder of what they had left behind, and she couldn't help but glance over her shoulder. But, in the distance, she saw no one following them. Thompson's rage echoed in her ears, and she shuddered. "If he found them, hey," Jake said gently, breaking her thoughts. "Focus on what's ahead. It's going to be okay." His confidence seeped into her, like sunlight breaking through heavy clouds. They turned a corner, and the world opened up a little. There was a park, rows of trees swaying slightly in the breeze, and a playground bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. It felt so normal, so ordinary, like a life they could have had. "Let us rest for a second," Jake suggested, pulling them behind a large oak tree, hidden well from view. Emily nodded, her legs trembling slightly from the run, but an overwhelming burst of energy surged in her. Away from Thompson, away from fear. It was liberating, and it sent warmth blooming through her chest. "What do you think he'll do now?" she asked, her voice small, threaded with worry. She tucked her hair behind her ear, anxiety creeping in again. "I don't know, but that's not our concern anymore." Jake took a breath, meeting her gaze. "We're free, Em. We can figure this out together." Her heart ached at those words. But was it really freedom? Was this the life she wanted? The questions flooded in like water through a cracked dam. Before she could speak, Jake's expression shifted, his brow furrowing as if sensing her unrest. "What's wrong?" he prodded gently. "I'm scared," she admitted, tears pricking the corners of her eyes. It was strange. Even as hope swelled within her, she was still haunted by what she'd left behind, the remnants of her old life crumpled into nothingness. "Don't be," he said softly, placing his hand on her shoulder. "You're stronger than you think. And I'm here." Emily felt a flush of warmth at his words. In that moment, it felt like a tether to the reality she craved. She leaned into him slightly, finding comfort in his presence. But suddenly, the tranquility shattered. A voice broke through the murmurs of the evening, sharp and urgent. "Emily." Emily froze, her heart racing once more. It couldn't be. She turned slowly, dread pooling in her stomach like lead. There, emerging from the trees, was a figure, a familiar silhouette that made her breath hitch. "Thompson?" "No," Jake whispered, shock rippling through him as he stepped protectively in front of her. It was too late. Emily's choices had come rushing back, and the reality of her escape hung like a storm cloud above them. Would she have to run again, or could she finally confront the monster of her past? "Emily, I've come for you," Thompson shouted, desperation lacing his voice. As fear and doubt intertwined, Emily's mind raced with the weight of her decisions. What would she choose this time? How could she finally break free? Emily felt her heart thump violently in her chest as she took in Thompson's figure. The fear that had ebbed slightly at the park's edge now surged back, rising like a tide. Jake's stance in front of her offered some protection, but she still felt exposed. Thompson, with his dark eyes seething with something she couldn't quite place, came closer, a predatory glint in his gaze. "Get away from her!" Jake shouted, instinctively shifting to position himself as a barrier between Emily and the threat. "Jake," Emily whispered, her voice shaking. She didn't want him to face this alone, but she also didn't want him to escalate the situation. Her heart ached, torn between wanting to hide and a strange, bubbling courage that had her wanting to face her fears head-on. "Emily, listen to me." Thompson's voice broke through the harsh air, the urgency bleeding into his words. "I've been searching everywhere for you. You don't understand what you're doing. You can't just run away." "But I have to," she replied, her voice steadying. "You don't get to decide that for me anymore. We need to go," Jake urged, his eyes darting around as if assessing their options. But she felt different now. Something inside her had shifted. What was once fear had morphed into a flicker of defiance. "No," she said, surprising even herself. "You can't control me. Not anymore." It was a revelation, realizing that this moment was hers to own, not his. Thompson's face softened just a fraction, confusion mingling with desperation. "You don't know what you'll lose. I'm trying to protect you." "Protect me?" Emily shot back, feeling herself shake with anger. "You think this is protection? The life you forced on me? No more." With every breath, Jake stood firm at her side, silently encouraging her. Emily caught his eye, feeling fortified by his silent support. She could see it in his look, a promise that she didn't have to face this alone. The warmth of their connection ignited a growing fire in her. "Enough," she declared, stepping out from behind Jake. "You've had your hold on me for too long." Thompson took a step forward, but Jake's protective instincts kicked in. He squared his shoulders, blocking Thompson's path. "If you think you can take her back, you're mistaken." "Get out of my way," Thompson snapped, the fury rising again. Emily felt her palms clench into fists. This wasn't just about her anymore, it was about everyone who had ever been held captive by fear. The rage and pain she felt about her past could either destroy her or be turned into resolve. "Stop this, all of it," she said, her voice strong and unwavering. "You're not my monster anymore. I'm done with playing the victim." There was silence, broken only by the distant rustle of the trees. Thompson's face fell, a mixture of disbelief and something else, regret? Fear? The weight of her words hung heavy in the air. She felt empowered. Free. It felt like stepping into daylight after a lifetime of shadows. "Go home," Emily said firmly. "This is my life now. I'm going to live it, with or without you." He looked as if he might protest, but the look in her eyes, one of fierce determination, made him hesitate. She stood her ground, breathing in the cool air, bold and unyielding. But as Thompson turned, she knew this wasn't over. He wouldn't let her go that easily. She could feel it in her bones. "Jake," Emily said, her mind racing with the implications. "We can't stick around. We have to go now." He nodded, understanding the urgency in her voice. They took a step back toward the path leading out of the park, every instinct urging them to run, but for the first time, it felt like a different kind of escape. It was an acknowledgement of her strength, a promise of their shared journey. As they began to move, Emily's mind raced with thoughts of what lay ahead. Could they really leave it all behind? And was this the last she would see of Thompson? She felt a bittersweet thrill whirl inside her, a mix of fear and hope. She was breaking free, one step at a time, but at what cost? The rush of the moment carried her, and with every step, she prepared for whatever came next. What lay ahead? A new beginning or an unfinished battle? They sprinted forward, the sun dipping below the horizon, casting shadows of uncertain futures behind them. Would she be able to reclaim her life, or would the past claw its way back? With the chasm of the unknown yawning before her, Emily tightened her grip on Jake's hand. "Whatever happens," she whispered, "we face it together, right?" His answer lingered unspoken in the air, heavy with the promise of their next challenge. The echoes of their footsteps filled the quiet park as they weaved through the path, every instinct pushing them forward. Emily could feel the chill of the dusk settling in around them, each breath tasting sharper with the impending darkness. They didn't stop to look back, but the weight of Thompson's gaze pressed heavily on her shoulders, as if the shadows themselves were reaching out. "Do you think he'll follow?" Jake asked, his voice steady but edged with concern. Emily didn't want to think about that. Instinctively, she hated the idea of being hunted, the thought of being prey sending a shiver through her. "I don't know," she replied, her voice trembling. A wild mix of uncertainty and hope battled inside her. "But I'm not going to let him control my life anymore." They reached the edge of the park, the road stretching out like an open invitation. The quiet was a stark contrast to the chaos they'd just left behind. Yet, every gust of wind felt like a warning whispering through the trees, reminding them of the fragility of their newfound freedom. "Let us just keep moving," Jake said, a hint of urgency in his tone. He led her down the sidewalk, the street lamps flickering into life, casting pools of yellow light ahead. Emily walked closely beside him, her heart beating in time with their steps, the rhythm becoming a mantra of resilience. With each passing moment, she felt stronger. The fear that once paralyzed her began to dissolve, replaced by a sense of determination that ignited her spirit. She took a deep breath, realizing now was the time to reclaim her story. Not the girl defined by fear, but one who chose her own path. "Where do we go from here?" she asked, glancing towards Jake. He met her gaze, and in that moment, she saw both uncertainty and unwavering support reflected in his eyes. "Anywhere we want," he said, his smile warm and reassuring. "We can take a bus to the next town. Or maybe we can grab a late-night coffee. We could figure it out from there." Coffee. For Emily, it was a symbol of normalcy, a promise of comfort amid the storm raging inside her. "That sounds perfect." As they turned the corner, the small coffee shop came into view, its neon sign buzzing with life. It was a quaint spot, inviting and familiar, a place that offered warmth against the chill creeping into her bones. The hustle of the evening crowd seemed to melt away as they entered, and Emily felt the transformative power of ordinary moments wash over her. Jake ordered their drinks while Emily searched the room, her eyes scanning the faces of strangers, seeking familiarity in the unknown. But she couldn't shake the feeling that she might be running from more than just Thompson. The disarray of her life lingered in her mind, whispering fear and doubt. "Here you go." Jake handed her a steaming cup, the aroma wafting up and grounding her in the moment. Emily took a sip, the warmth spreading through her like a hug, even as thoughts of the past clawed at the edges. "Emily," Jake said gently, pulling her attention back to him. "You've done something amazing. You stood up to him. I don't think you understand how strong that is." A flicker of pride softened his features, and for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to feel proud too. "Thank you, Jake," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. The weight of gratitude settled in her heart, and she realized she wasn't alone. Together, they defaced the darkness, and it hadn't swallowed them whole. But just as she relaxed, a figure walked in, the door swinging shut behind them. Emily's heart dropped as she recognized him, Thompson, his dark eyes scanning the room, searching for her. "Jake," she gasped, and as they both turned, the threat of the moment returned, stronger than before. "Stay close," Jake ordered, the protective intensity returning in an instant. Emily's breath quickened, her thoughts racing. Would this be another fight, another escape? Or this time would they confront the truth of her past? Her heart hammered unpredictably. She couldn't back down now. There was only one way forward, but what if that path led to more darkness? As Thompson moved deeper into the shop, the air thickened with tension, and Emily knew she had to choose her next move carefully. What did she have left to lose? Emily felt a rush of adrenaline as she sensed Thompson's presence moments before his figure became fully visible. Panic surged through her veins, but as she glanced at Jake, she saw not fear in his expression, but determination. The warm cafe seemed to fade away around them, narrowing their world into a bubble where only they and Thompson existed. "Jake, he's coming," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "I know." Just stay behind me, Jake said, his voice low but firm, almost like a lighthouse guiding her through a storm. As Thompson approached, a cold sweat broke out on Emily's forehead. The familiar mixture of fear and defiance battled within her, but she understood, in this moment, there was no room for retreat. No matter how overwhelming his presence felt, she wouldn't allow him to drive her from her fresh start. Thompson stopped a few feet away, his eyes scanning the cafe like a predator zeroing in on its prey. "Emily!" he called out, frustration bubbling beneath his words. "I told you to come home." She straightened up, pulling herself taller than she ever thought possible. With Jake steadfastly at her side, she felt her resolve harden. "No," she declared, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling around her. "You don't get to decide where I belong anymore." His expression morphed, confusion flashing across his face, but anger quickly took the front seat. "You don't know what you're doing." He was a storm, fierce and relentless, but the power over her he once held had begun to diminish. "I know exactly what I'm doing," Emily shot back, her heart pounding. She dared to take a step forward, leaving the shelter of Jake's side. "I'm building my own life, one you can't control. What you call protection was nothing but a prison." Thompson's hands balled into fists, and for a heartbeat, she thought he'd charge at her. The cafe seemed to grow quieter, the buzz of conversation fading into a thick tension. But she stood her ground, refusing to be intimidated. "Emily," Jake urged softly, his protective stance a tangible reminder that she wasn't alone. She could feel the power of his presence anchoring her, fueling her courage. "Let me help you, Em," Thompson pleaded, though the raw edge of desperation hung in the air like a sharp blade. "I cared for you. I kept you safe from the world." "Help? You lock me away thinking that was helping," she replied, shaking her head. "You were never my protector. You suffocated me with your fear. I want to breathe. I want to live." Jake stepped closer, putting a hand on her shoulder, lending strength without saying a word. That small gesture felt monumental, like a bridge between her old life and the possibilities of the new one she was ready to embrace. For a moment, silence reigned. Thompson's bravado faltered, and the weight of Emily's words settled in the cafe. She could see the flicker of doubt in his eyes, a wavering grip on the facade he had held so tightly. Was he finally beginning to see her as she truly was? Emily took a deep breath. "This is my choice," she said firmly, her voice unwavering as she pointed toward the exit. "And I choose to leave with Jake. He has shown me that real love and safety mean the freedom to choose for myself. You can't take that away." Anger began to twist Thompson's features again, but deep down, she sensed something had shifted. As he gazed into her eyes, searching for any sign of the girl he once knew, she saw not just a reflection of fear but perhaps, for a fleeting moment, regret. "Emily, please," he said in a softer tone, desperation creeping back into his speech. "No more please," she retorted, shaking her head decisively. "This ends now. You can keep hurtling yourself into this cycle of control, or you can learn how to let go." Every heartbeat felt heavy in the air, and Emily knew regardless of the outcome she had crossed a threshold. There was a strength within her that would seek to carve out a space for healing, and that strength was growing day by day, fueled by the foundational love she shared with Jake. In the following moments, Thompson's posture seemed to sag, the fight slowly seeping away. "You're my little girl," he finally muttered weakly. "Not anymore," she said with sadness, but with finality. "Not like that." Jake tightened his grip on her shoulder, and she felt an overwhelming sense of unity wash over her, a feeling that finally, she was ready to embrace the journey ahead whatever it would demand. "Let us go, Em," Jake encouraged, as they took a small step toward the exit. And, in that moment, something monumental shifted. Thompson didn't move to stop them. Instead, he seemed to surrender. "Get out of here. Just go," he said, voice heavy but defeated. Emily didn't look back as they crossed the threshold, stepping into the warm embrace of the evening air. As she breathed deeply, she glanced up at Jake, a tear spilling down her cheek, not of sadness, but of liberation. "We did it," she whispered, a radiant smile breaking free across her face. Jake returned her smile, warmth filling his heart. "We sure did." The path ahead was unknown, but it was theirs. Together, they turned toward the future where healing awaited, growth promised, and love would pave the way, unhindered. And as they walked, Jake held her close, both of them more than just survivors. They were fighters who emerged into the light. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and show everyone that these stories matter. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your thoughts can mean the world. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share, this could change someone's life.